show. 4, we wanna let the love flow. 3, we aim to take a bus ride. 2, our boat leaves on the next tide. 1, and we had blast off. The Maythorn monthly is a go. Over mountain, land and sea, let our videos set you free. So don't look so forlorn, it's the monthly from Maythorn. As the year goes by too soon and we reach the month of June, we struggle to survive in the year of 25. The time goes by too quick with every click, click, click. So go out for a walk or just sit down and talk. We're in the month of June. Brian wants to play a tune. The radio is his past and time is moving fast. Our message for today, you will hear Brian say, the music that we play will drive the blues away. Welcome to the Maythorn monthly. Just let the music play. Welcome to the Maythorn monthly. Just let the music play. Free, we aim to take a bus ride. 2, our boat leaves on the next tide. 1, and we are blast off. The Maythorn monthly is a go.
Moorfield Station serves the business district of Liverpool, and I take a walk across Exchange Flags where a lot of the businesses are. But this is early evening and the businesses have all closed down for the day, and there's not many people in this area. So where are the people? Well, we're concentrating on an area around the town hall, and you can see the back of the town hall from Exchange Flags. So all you have to do is cut down one of the alleyways or little narrow streets and you're in Castle Street. Castle Street is a street that goes out straight ahead of the town hall. Well, this is a pretty old ferry boat coming in now, and it's been running a daily service for as long as I can remember. And there were several at one time, and also the Royal Iris that used to do the evening cruises and other such lunchtime things. Now they're building a new ferry boat, and I'm sure that'll be ready in a few years' time, and hopefully we'll be showing it to you and having a trip on it. But if you want to know more about it for now, all you have to do is come down to Seacombe Ferry, and there's a full exhibition of what it's going to look like and some architects' pictures, if that's what you call them in nautical terms. Anyway, you'll be able to see what the new ferry looks like, and we shall await its arrival.
Ferry glides on the river skin, through the mist where dreams begin. Mersey sunk, a timeless flow, to the waves where the wanderers go. Sail away across the blue, to island shores and next skies too. Welcome all the liners grand, Liverpool greets with open hands. Hear the horn as it cuts the air, footsteps echo on the deck, bound for tales we won't forget. Sail away across the blue to island shores and Manx skies too. Welcome all the liners grand. Liverpool greets with open hands. Rolling tides, the city shines underneath the sea lines. Fairy tales and cruiser dreams. Liverpool's calling endless dreams. Sail away across the blue to Ireland shores and Manx skies too. Welcome all the liners grand. Liverpool greets with open hands. Greets with open hands.
These are the gardens that surround all the flats that we live in here, and they're looked after by our wonderful gardener Dave. Across the road there is Arrow Park Hospital. It's the central hospital for the Wirral. This main road takes traffic backwards and forwards, and all the buses come in here too, so it's a busy place. But behind our double glazing we don't hear anything except of course the odd siren, but you get used to that. Today I've been out with Jess. We've been to Wallasey, to the shared house, and she's been doing a bit of wallpaper scraping. There's more of that to come. The project that's about, I can tell you perhaps next month, because we're only just getting into that one. We also cleared some rubbish from the side, and we've been to the tip. There you are, you see, an exciting day that I give her. And she's filming with a camera that she took to the Liverpool FC celebration last month, and I'm hoping she'll be taking it in other places too. Now, I promised I'd tell you about our Bucharest hotel. I'm going to have to be a little bit negative here. I've actually printed out the review I did for booking.com. If I could have given it a score of 0, I'd have done that, but I had to give it a 1 because that's the minimum you can give them. And the things that were wrong are just such a long list, but let's just say the room we were in had seen better days. There were no power sockets apart from the one that was where the fridge was plugged in and the TV. There's a double socket there, far side of the room from the bed. Nothing by the bed, no bedside lights, no wall lights, no mood lighting at all, just one central overhead light which was horrible, so we ended up just using the TV as a light. The furniture was old and decrepit. We were supposed to have a balcony, turned out to be a shared balcony with the adjacent room, and you didn't feel as though you could go out there because the window from your room looked out onto this balcony, and same from the other room, and you just didn't feel there was any privacy out there, so that was a waste of space. The bathroom was horrible. The shower cubicle was far too small. There was room for a much bigger one, and they just didn't bother to put one in. They put in a quadrant. The so-called floor tiles were just stuck on. They peeled off, and lots of them had peeled off. So you go in there barefoot, you're cutting your toes on bits of plastic sticking up. There's a trip hazard, and basically the whole bathroom, the whole flat was a nightmare, where we couldn't get to charge our phones. I couldn't get to charge my camera, and what can I say?
took some pictures. The only saving grace was outside at night the hotel looked nice with its lights. The foyer was okay, it was tidy enough, although not very well lit. And the lift was one that you don't see these days, where you have to open the door yourself because it didn't have electric doors. So all in all, and we only ever met two people, one who checked us in at night and one who checked us out in the morning. They both seemed to be miserable as sin with no personality, and I had to sign forms to get out. And I never had to sign out of a hotel before in my life, and we do travel a lot. And I asked the guy why. He said, "You're signing for the accommodation." I was totally mystified by that. But yeah, the most dreadful place we have ever stayed. It's in the centre of Bucharest. It wasn't that cheap, and really we wish we'd stayed in Bulgaria a bit longer instead of crossing over into Romania.
Just let the music play. We're in the month of June. Brian wants to play a tune. The radio is his past, and time is moving fast. Our message for today, you will hear Brian say, the music that we play will drive the blues away.
Hi, my name is Susie and I'm going to help Brian explore new technologies like electric vehicles, heat pumps and AI creations. You will realize that I am an avatar and I have no personality of my own. I will just be doing what Brian tells me to do. To start us off, Brian is going to tell us a little about his days working on the radio.
Thank you, Susie. It all started when I was still at school. These were the days of pirate radio in the 60s, and I actually got a job in a local radio station that had just started up while I was still at school. I also did a broadcast in Germany with BFBS on a school trip to Germany. These were the days when there was an awful lot of talk radio about, when the BBC had some quite serious output and they did a lot of talking, and not a lot of music was played because there was a needle time restriction. Of course, the pirates were offshore and they didn't have to follow these laws from Britain. I think at the time the BBC were in their light entertainment division that later became Radio 1, had about 6 hours of needle time a day. That meant 6 hours of commercial records they could play. So the rest of the time they had these Ray McVeigh and his orchestra and the BBC this and that orchestra with guest singers singing the hits of the day, but they were just cover versions, and that's how they got round the needle time. And when I got to local radio, we had similar things, only I think officially we only had an hour's needle time a day. Well, we found ways around it. There was, amongst other things, a set of records called the Canadian Talent Library. The whole point of the way I did my radio programs was that I didn't talk too much, and when I did talk, I was talking to the listeners, I was reading their letters, and I was getting feedback from them. That was what was important to me. We had this huge audience around the greater Merseyside area, and I wanted to play them the tunes they wanted to hear. We used to play their records, discs, or whatever they were called at the time. So when I'd done enough radio, you know, that been there, done that feeling, by which time I was in my mid-30s, I started doing computer programming, but I wanted to get into video because there was a record back then called Video Killed the Radio Star, and I'm sure this wasn't true, so I set out to prove it, and I tried to move over and migrate my efforts from the radio onto a TV type thing with video. Didn't quite manage it because when I started working with YouTube, I found that they had what you might call needle time restrictions. You weren't allowed to play any copyright music at all. Instead, they had a YouTube music library you could use, so you had to be creative with that. But basically, it was like background music that you'd hear in the lift. The Americans call it elevator music. So I've never been able to present my videos in exactly the way I'd want. I want to do them the way I used to do my radio shows. I want to be able to introduce music with video accompanying it. Instead, I'm doing it the other way around. I'm shooting video when I'm out and about and finding some pretty mundane music to go in the background until recently. And then all these AI platforms sprang up that allow you to create your own music. And these have got better and better. Well, I think so anyway. I'm going to actually now play you a track which is the current state of the art for the sort of domestic services that ordinary people can use. I'm sure the professionals have got some really fantastic tools. And I had last week a song that I got created for me, which was about the Mersey, because if I'm showing a video of the ferry crossing the River Mersey into Liverpool, the obvious thing, perhaps too obvious, is to play the song Ferry Across the Mersey by Jerry and the Pacemakers. But of course I'm not allowed to do that, so I wanted my own song. I told the AI what I wanted, a song about the river and the ferries and the liners that come down and so on. And I've discovered that you can pull all that apart. The latest tools that you've got with Suno, the platform I use, allow you to take the stems, it calls them. Now, I would have called them tracks because of the background I have. Back in the 60s, the Beatles recorded their music on 4 tracks, and gradually 8 tracks came out, and 16 tracks and 24 tracks. Well, the Suno platform has 12 stems, but they're tracks, and you can extract them and you can remix the music that you've already created. So what I'm going to do now is play you that song again, and I'm going to just pick tracks as we go along and cut off some other tracks just to give you an idea of what you can do with it. And to save showing you the same video again, I looked back in my library, quick search Mersey Ferry, and it came across some recordings I did in 2019. So I'm going to put those on, and I'm going to fiddle around with the song that I created, and it was only a week ago.
Ferry glides on the river's skin, through the mist where dreams begin. Mersey sunk, a timeless flow, to the waves where the wanderers go. Sail away across the blue, to island shores and night skies too. Welcome all the liners grand. Liverpool breeze with hear the horn as it cuts the air, stories ride the current there. Footsteps echo on the deck, bound for tales we won't forget. Sail away across the blue, to island shores and night skies too. Welcome all the liners grand. Liverpool greets with open hands. Tides, the city shines underneath the sea lines. Fairy tales and cruiser dreams, Liverpool's calling endless streams. Sail away across the blue, to Ireland shores and night skies too. Welcome all the liners grand. Liverpool greets with open hands. Greets with open hands.
Yeah, sorry, you've just caught me. I'm just creating another AI to talk to you, and I want him to talk to me as well, so I've got a spare seat alongside me on the sofa. Let's see if I can achieve something with that. Hang on a second.
Hi, I'm Jimmy, or so Brian tells me. I've been created on a blank background, so Brian can place me in the same place as him. One day, technology might allow me to carry on a conversation with him. Okay. We're going to join you on your recent trip to IKEA using public transport. I believe you came across a lot of electric buses.
Yeah, I saw a whole fleet of these electric buses, and none of the old buses in Warrington seemed to be left. They were all 74 reg, so I'm guessing they were put there last autumn. I probably haven't been since then. So what do you think about us now taking that trip to Warrington to have a look?
So let's start out by catching a train from Liverpool for the first leg of the journey. This is Liverpool Lime Street Station.
Yes, and the first thing I do is look up at the big destination board and see what platform I'm on. And then head through the barriers, and I see this nice Hitachi train that's going to take me to Newton-le-Willows. So to recap the route I'm taking to IKEA, the train from Liverpool Lime Street to Newton-le-Willows, then I get outside and there's a bus interchange right outside the station. Oh, and a coffee cart, that's handy. And I get on the bus, but while I'm waiting for a bus, I see this yellow thing coming into the bus station that I haven't seen before. And it's in fact a 22 that I want to catch into Warrington, but it's going the opposite direction. So I don't have to get on it. I look at the back end of it and see that it's a new electric bus, and it's one of a fleet. So when mine arrives, it's going in the right direction, I get to go on and into the Warrington bus station, where I see loads more of these. What I have to do when I get to the bus interchange is go along to the bay where the bus to IKEA goes and take the trip out in a different direction towards IKEA. And although I'm not familiar with the area, I can tell without Google Maps when I'm approaching IKEA because there's a great big Marks and Spencer's next door. I've moved on to electric vehicles now because I want to discuss renewable energy in general, the old net zero thing, and whether it's possible or even affordable. And it occurred to me while I was travelling around on these electric buses that there's loads of them. They're everywhere you went, and they all have to go back to the depot at night and be charged up. Now, it must take absolutely megawatts of power. I can't really envisage how much to charge all those batteries overnight in the bus station. And we as a nation are already using far more electricity than we used to, because they're talking people out of gas and into electric heating systems. They're talking people out of the fossil fuel driven cars and into electric vehicles. These all need electricity. And we're not generating enough electricity, and certainly not putting it onto the grid to power all these things. So in the summer, that won't matter. But in the winter, when all these heating systems start using electricity again, we could easily run out. And that brings me back to something from my radio career, because in 1971-72, I was presenting a breakfast show up at BBC Radio Teesside. And one of my jobs every day was to read out the list of power cuts. Yes, we had a 3-day week, so it was a different reason for them, but big areas of the Teesside surroundings had to be without electricity for very large parts of the day. And so in order to plan ahead, people needed to know when their power cut was. And I was playing records on the radio, of course, because that's what I did. But I was giving out these announcements of this area will have no power between these times and so on. And aren't we now heading for a time where next winter we might have so much needing electricity that we can't generate enough and we have power cuts again? Surely that's the risk. Having said that, let's look at an electric vehicle. They're not all like Tesla or Hyundais and things like that with all these fantastic screens. Some of them are just electric instead of petrol or diesel. And here's a Citroen Berlingo belonging to a friend of mine, and if you look at the dashboard here, it looks very much like a dashboard you'd find on an ordinary car, except it's got the battery levels instead of the fuel tank levels. Under the bonnet it's a little different. There's an electric motor instead of the fossil fuel driven ICE. There's no spark plugs or injectors or anything like that. There's actuators apparently, and very little sign of movement and very little sound comes from under here. You can't see the battery on this vehicle because it's down in the chassis and completely sealed in, and so even if I'd have gone down on my knees with the camera, I wouldn't have been able to show you anything. So what about the other use of electricity? Well, I'm going to look at heat pumps. The installation that I'm going to be taking a look at belongs to my friend Bob. I went to his house to look at his man cave, yes, but also to look at his installation of solar panels and a heat pump and a storage battery. You don't always get all of those, but this is how they work together, as Bob explains.
So this is the system. This is the solar panels on the roof, which I've got nine of. That's producing 963 watts at the moment. That's feeding the inverter, and the inverter has decided that the battery, not being fully charged, will need some charge. The house needs 345 watts, and the excess, which is 4 watts, is being exported to the grid. So you can see exactly what you're using, you can see where it's coming from, and I must admit it's just pretty quick. If you put a kettle on or something, it does actually, the numbers do sort of fly around a bit, so you can see exactly what's happening on a sunny day, and I mean a real sunny day. That goes completely blue all the way around.
So you can get into kilowatts with what's coming off the roof?
You can definitely get into kilowatts.
Yeah.
I think I've seen 2.1, 2.3 kilowatts coming off the roof.
And the battery charge fairly quickly?
Battery charges really quickly. This piece of software enables me to actually force charge it during the night when it's at a cheap rate. So when we wake up every morning, the battery is always fully charged.
Excellent.
Always fully charged. So we use the battery and the solar panels all the time, and then we export quite a fair bit, to be honest with you. The other good thing is you can go into the settings and you can see exactly how much you've produced and how much you've used and how much the house has used and how the battery's been discharged.
And how long have you had the heat pump now?
Just over a year. It's just had its first service.
So you've seen it through a winter?
So we've seen it through a winter.
And it's just gone up to 1.17 kilowatts, and we're on a fairly dull day at the moment, so that's good. We'll take a look at the unit outside, the heat pump itself.
Okay.
And you were telling me that the neighbours don't hear it, so it's not loud.
No, you cannot hear. Even with the window open, it's just outside this window here. Even with the window open, you cannot hear it.
As the year goes by too soon, and we reach the month of June, we struggle to survive in the year of 25. The time goes by too quick.
So I'm going to look now at an installation which is partly installed as I speak, and it's my brother's, and I walked into his road last week and there were a number of vans which gave me a clue as to the fact that something was happening. He's having a heat pump installed from Octopus called Cozy 3, and it's a different shape to the one we just saw in Derby. The pictures here show it back to front because they're still wiring it up, and there are copper pipes going up to the loft. The loft in this house is where they're installing a rather tall and thin water cylinder, whereas in Bob's house they'd taken a cupboard in the bathroom which was probably an airing cupboard or may have contained the old-fashioned water cylinder. This is the first part of the installation. The pipes coming down from the loft and being worked on under the floor are to do with the central heating and the radiators, and the copper pipes they're using are 28mm, which is unusually large but something to do with the flow. A little later in the day, the Cozy unit had been turned around so you can see the front of it. Of course, it will need cleaning up. And by the end of this particular day when I was there, they'd removed the gas boiler and the gas supply, and there's the empty box to prove it. I think the question I would ask is, if the government weren't subsidising these heat pump installations by £7.5 or so, would any of us think of doing it? Could we cost justify taking out our gas boiler and putting in a heat pump system? I think the answer to that is a definite no, so we are being pushed down this route. For me, in my own properties, as you've seen, I've been putting in infrared panel heaters, £50, £100, £150, and I pay for those myself. If somebody said to me, right, you need an installation that's going to cost 10 grand, I don't think I'm actually going to live long enough to get the payback from that, so I wouldn't do it. However, I do have a property up in the hills slightly, which is tenanted, and the tenant, for health reasons, is entitled to a grant. And so we are having a surveyor in the next few weeks to come and see if it's possible to install a heat pump at that property. So I'll be keeping you informed about all this renewable stuff going forward. But for now, I can't do with all this talking. I'm a DJ at heart. I've got to play another tune. So let me just get onto the AI and get that organised.
Brian's sitting on a chair with a laptop on his knee, writing words for me to sing, which I'm glad to do for free. While we travel near and far, I'm just strumming my guitar. While you watch these lovely sights, I'm assembling bits and bytes. Brian says he wants this short as he's running out of time. So I'll wish you fond farewell and end this little rhyme.
Welcome to the month of June. The Maythorn monthly's here. We're heading for the south coast, where Portsmouth will appear. There's trains and buses, ferry boats, all transport on one site. You can take a bus to Bognor or sail the Isle of Wight. We'll take the train or ride the bus, or even drive the car to bring the Maythorn monthly. We'll travel near or far.
He was born here on the 7th of February in 1812. Isn't that an overture? He's Charles Dickens, one of my father's favourite authors. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. It's Bulgaria. I've got the Bulgaria t-shirt on, but I'm not going there because Colin's over there supervising my house in Oresh. And the first bit of video I've got to show you is actually the plastering, as Stefan and his partner have been putting up plasterboard and filling in holes where the gable ends needed bricking up. There's a lot of that kind of work going on, and I'm going to show you that now. And there's also some fresh video being sent over as I speak, which I'll come back to later. The last video report that we showed you from the Oresh house was when the plumbing was going in, and that was done first because we wanted to hide it behind the walls. So we've now got to a situation where different walls are being treated differently. There'll be some plastering and rendering going on, and also a framework for plasterboard, and the whole idea is that most of the plumbing will disappear behind these walls. It's handy that we've still got two rooms that we can use for preparation. So you've got the bedroom and the living room being used to lay out and cut materials and mix up plaster in a bucket.
On our last visit, one of the gable ends was completely open to the world. Well, that's now been bricked up. They're not bricks, I know, but it's just an expression, and that really only leaves the roof to do at a later date. And as we finish this little trip, you'll notice that the garden is overgrown again, so we're going to have to bring Tim in to do a bit of clearance for us in the near future.
Travel near or far, we'll take the train.
It seems Brian has gone to Portsmouth and we are getting nothing back from him.
Yes, he appears to be having some connection problems.
Well, we are still receiving video from Colin in Bulgaria. Shall we put some more of that out?
I think we should wait until he contacts us. He should be able to send us his voice even if video won't come through.
Okay, well, let's see what other videos he has finished and are ready to go.
I've found some footage from Liverpool Festival Gardens in 2023. Is that any good?
Yes, okay, let's play that for now while we try and find something else.
This peaceful park in Liverpool is by the Mersey River. It's where the ships go sailing by their products to deliver. We're heading for another park in the city of Pompeii. It's a problem of connection that will limit us today. We need another network that delivers better speed, and we found one to connect to that's very fast indeed.
Well, actually, I didn't put out the Festival Gardens thing from Liverpool because I hadn't finished. There's another area which they've developed which I was going to tack onto that, but never mind, it's done now. And the AIs wrote a little song for it. How quaint. So this park is in Portsmouth, and it was the park that took us early evening to our hotel on arrival. You get out of the train at Portsmouth and Southsea Station, just across the road, an entrance to the park, and as you walk into the park, apart from seeing things like the children's playground, the aviary and so on, you see this building which dominates the park, and it's got a big round thing on the end of it. Well, that's our travel lodge, and that's where we're heading for. The little piece of me you saw by the Charles Dickens statue, that was my first video recording when I first arrived in Portsmouth, and it took over 24 hours to upload because of the dreadful speeds. The Travelodge Wi-Fi was getting me 96 kilobytes a second upload. Even my own mobile signal was only just a bit faster than that, and still only about 1/10 of a megabyte per second. Compare that with the hotel in Romania that we stayed in, which we hated. It actually had a speed upload and download of about 200 megabits a second. I was pretty annoyed that I paid £3.50 for 24 hours of Travelodge's so-called premium Wi-Fi. Pretty dreadful, and certainly nothing premium about it. So I googled to find out what was the fastest 5G network you could get, because the one I was on was clearly no good, and Google said the 3 network was the one. Well, I couldn't just get a SIM sent to me that time of the evening when we arrived, so I downloaded an eSIM, and that's a technology, if you don't know anything about, I'll go into another time. But basically, they send you an email, you download a QR code into your phone, and you activate the SIM, and then it's just as though you'd actually got a physical SIM and chucked it in, and suddenly we had fantastic speeds. So now I can show you the next stage of our Orish House development, and Colin had asked me to send over a diagram of where I want all the wiring and the lights, and I already had a 3D image of the 2 bathrooms, so I just hand drew over the top of it. The first image you'll see is the camera pointing down towards the ensuite, but of course the partitions aren't there yet, so you can see all the way down. Colin's got the camera in what will be the main bathroom with the window on the left, and down at the bottom you can see the area that comes off the bedroom, which will be the ensuite. The partition will be going halfway down. In fact, there'll be two partitions creating a storage area, and the wall on the right is worth looking at because that's the original outside of the building which we tacked this extension onto, and as yet it hasn't been rendered or anything. So the wiring is being put in place by Stefan and Valerie, and the things I've asked them to provision are a couple of towel radiators, one in each bathroom area, downlights, 4 in each bathroom area using the GU10s to spread the light out, and also of course the hot water heater which is going to go in that partition area between the two bathrooms. They've put a small distribution unit by there because there's quite a lot of wiring going into this bathroom and it needed to terminate somewhere, so that's just inside when you come through from the bedroom. A couple of other things which I had added. I quite like to have an illuminated mirror for shaving in, and I put that in all my bathrooms back here in the UK, and so I've got wiring going in for that. And also very European to have the laundry in the bathroom as well, so we plan to put a washing machine but in the ensuite area. The software I use to draw up the 3D plan is called 4Plan. That's a number 4 plan. And I already put the two partitions in so I could see where the water cylinder was going to fit. Anyway, rest assured there'll be more from the Orish house next month, and we'll see if they've finished the building of the bathroom, because we're itching to get in and put in the toilets and the sinks and all the other stuff, and a place for the shower, of course. I've also been doing lots of filming in Portsmouth, but haven't been able to get it to you because I didn't have a fast enough connection back home. The eSIM I had in the last couple of days that we were down here, so you'll get that next month as well. And also I'm stopping in London, which is kind of halfway back, and hoping to get a bit of video in London as well. You might be interested to know as we close that on the London Underground you can get a good 4G and 5G signal, and I was actually uploading the videos from Portsmouth in the tube on the way home. Anyway, that is all for this month. We've covered quite a lot, and there's lots more in July. See you then.
We hope you have enjoyed the show on handheld or big screen. It's brought to you by Brian Smart and fueled by caffeine. The time has come for us to go, but please watch out for our